Hello, my name is John, and today I'd like to speak with you about whatever's on my mind, kind of like a fireside chat, except no fireplace. And we will be discussing having a prevailing attitude with some George Washington quotes. We will be looking at cancel culture and George Washington. And then a question that I get asked a lot is there more to John than George Washington? To watch this full video, go to my YouTube channel, Through the Eyes of George. Don't forget to go to my website, www.potus1.com. That's POTUS, the number 1.com. Check out my new book, paperback, $15, and for Kindle version, it's $2.99. POTUS 1 on Amazon. So, some things about George Washington and having a prevailing attitude. One thing I think about is the kinds of challenges that and tribulation that people have on a daily or regular basis. And in my book here, I talk about some mental challenges and things that some people deal with on a daily basis that we don't know about, and how to help them in one way or another. And what kind of attitude we should be having with challenges and tribulation. And that attitude is to prevail. We will prevail. You will prevail. And there's a quote from George about this exact thing. George Washington wrote to Major General Philip Schuyler on July 15th, 1777, we must never despair. Our situation has been compromising before, and it changed for the better. So I trust it will again. If difficulties arise, we must put forth new exertion and proportion our efforts to the exigencies of the times. Doesn't that sound like a prevailing attitude? Doesn't that sound like a more than a conqueror mindset? Absolutely. George Washington also said to Charles Min Thurston, or Truston, I guess that's how you pronounce it, I don't know how, but on August 10th, 1794, Mr. Washington George said, truth will ultimately prevail where pains is taken to bring it to light. Now, think about this for a second. When people are offended and they want to cancel somebody for one reason or another, they're offended for somebody or they're offended themselves, just because you're offended doesn't mean that you're right. Because truth, not your truth, not my truth, but what is the truth, truth will ultimately prevail. And having a prevailing mindset that George Washington was talking about to Major General Schuyler about proportion our efforts to the exigencies of the times and to put forth new exertion is something to always remember, because the how do you say this? We're not promised a perfect life. We're not promised all this red carpet, lifestyle. There will be tribulation and there will be challenges, and how do you go through that? Is to have that mindset of prevailing. And in moving on to cancel culture, I believe that George Washington and the founders of this country and the delegates at the Constitutional Convention would be canceled, because people seem to want to be offended for things that happened 200 years ago, 50 years ago, decades ago, whatever it may be. And they really don't want a perspective of both sides of a topic. They want their perspective and their truth, rather than hearing somebody out all the way through and going to the source, some people in culture on social media or on the news jump straight to conclusions and are offended. That's not real reporting. That's not real news. That's not being, if you're believe in God or you have beliefs in God or as a Christian or any other belief system, that's not being a good biblical researcher or godly or studying your godly beliefs. If you click on the first couple things online or first couple things you see in a biblical research book, like, oh, I found the answer. That's not, that is research. You could say that is studying, but that's not thorough studying and thorough research. And that's what cancel culture is. It's not thoroughly going to the source. It's your first thought in your emotion. And I think that with all the flaws that George Washington had in the 18th century slavery and his other things that he did, but he had a lot of good. George Washington did a lot of good for this country. You can't deny that. But yeah, I understand the flaws. I wrote a biography on George Washington. Don't you think that I understand from a historian or biographical perspective about the good, the bad, the flaws that he had, and the indifferent? Of course I know. But the thing is about cancel culture is that you can't continually live in the past because your past will become your present. And because you're living in the past and continually, consistently talking about the past, that becomes your future. And because the thing to think about this for a second, with that prevailing attitude I was talking about, the more we put on that prevailing attitude through our challenges, the more we see that our presence matters. Our presence matters. You matter. You matter. It doesn't matter what people say, that this is more important than that or that is more important than this. You matter. There are people out there that are thinking about taking their own life. Are you freaking kidding me? They matter to somebody. Don't tell me that one thing is more important than the other. You matter. Now, in this prevailing attitude with cancel culture, if you're always thinking and talking about the past, you're not worrying, you're not planning or thinking about yourself and the plans that you need to make for yourself, your goals, your desires, your dreams, and bring into fruition and manifestation those things that you desire, like getting a new job, getting married, moving to a different apartment, going and traveling, going and trying new food, reading a new book, going to a new movie, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Your goals and desires in life, working out, physical fitness, trying a new dance, trying and learning a new language. If we're always canceling other people and tearing down the things of the past, there will be nothing to go back to look at of, oh yeah, that's bad, we shouldn't do that. There's no ruler, no measure marker for that because we've canceled everything. The reason why I believe that there is statues is to remember the good, the bad, and the indifferent things about our past so we don't repeat them. And that's what's bad about cancel culture. Yeah, people shouldn't do bad things, and yeah, we can learn from our mistakes when it's brought up to us in a loving, tender way or in a professional way. But we got to move on. We have to move on. Look at all the advances and technological advances in science and medicine that we've made just by moving forward. Think about all the things in government that we know really works. Socialism doesn't work. I talk about that a little bit in this book. There are many countries where socialism has failed recently and has failed in the past. It doesn't work. And I understand that like I said, that George Washington isn't perfect, but he did a lot of good. He inspired a lot of good to give people the opportunity to set the seeds and the pillars of godly beliefs and morality. Because if you're going to cancel George Washington because he did something that was very bad, because of uh, um, the cultural mindset of that time, then you'd have to cancel all of history, because there are countries in Africa and Europe and Asia, South America, that had that type of slavery. You have to cancel that, the 18th century slavery. And human trafficking today is on the same level, parallel of the detestable nature, despicableness, heinous, devilish nature that 18th century slavery was in forcing somebody in that. But you don't really hear about human trafficking as much today as people like to talk about in politics, in America and United States politics, as much as they want to talk about 18th century slavery. Why don't we talk about human trafficking slavery today as much as we talk about 18th century slavery? But I digress. One thing I get asked a lot is, about, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I said that. Is think about this for a second with George Washington and cancel culture. There's a quote from George Washington on September 19th, 1797, his farewell address. He talks about how godly beliefs and our moral compass are indispensable supports, and that uh, in vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism should labor to subvert, or you could say in today's culture, labor to cancel these great pillars of human happiness, godly beliefs, and our moral compass. These firmest props of the duties of men and citizens, the mere politician, equally with the pious man, ought to respect and cherish them, to cherish the props or the pillars of our godly beliefs and our moral compass. A volume could not trace all their connections with private and public felicity, and let it simply be asked, where is the security for property? Where is the security for reputation, for life? If the sense of religious obligation desert the oaths, which are the instruments of investigation in the courts of justice? And let us with caution indulge the suspicion that morality can be maintained without religion. Whatever may be the conceited influence of refined education on the minds of particular structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail an exclusion of religious principle. We cannot cancel our godly beliefs and our moral compass just for the sake of someone saying that they're offended. Just because they're offended at something doesn't mean that they're right. Think of all the billions of people in the world that don't like one godly belief or another. Are we just not going to talk about what we believe in as our godly beliefs or moral compass? No. You wouldn't have a country. You wouldn't have a standard or foundation to live on with godly beliefs, or for a political arena, or for a government in which to make a constitution like we have today. one question that I get asked a lot is there more to John than George Washington? Well, yes, there is. I love to travel. I recently went and visited the Alamo with some friends that are my family, and I sure do love those people so much. They're fantastic individuals, but I learned a lot about the Alamo and the good and the bad and the indifferent things of that time and what happened. Um, and it was very interesting, very enlightening of just what happened at the Alamo. I've never been. It was very, very cool to be there, and that's where I got this shirt. Um, and John, me, I also like a good drink. I like bourbon. I like rum. And I love to, like I said, I love to travel. I love hiking. I love being outside. I love learning new dances. Even though I'm a terrible dancer, I love dancing. I love my favorite musician of all time. My favorite musician is Christopher Wallace, also known as the Notorious B.I.G. Um, also, I love learning new languages. Right now, I'm trying to learn French and Spanish. Um, also, what else? What else about John that's interesting? Yeah, I don't know what else. Yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, I used to collect comic books when I was a kid. My favorite comic book growing up was Spider-Man and Captain Marvel, and I have pretty much all of the Miss Marvel comic books. It's like 30 of them or something, 50 or whatever, from like this 1970s. It's kind of cool. Um, what else about me? Oh, my favorite pair of shoes to wear to just randomly to do whatever I want to do in them is my brown Allen Edmonds. I've totally trashed them, ruined them, whatever you want to say, but they still look good when you polish them up. They look pretty worn, well used, yeah, I could say. What else? I don't know what else about John. My favorite color is like teal or blue and green, hunter green precisely, and cerulean blue. What else? I don't know. That's it, I guess, for now. Thank you for watching this video. And remember that through any situation or challenge or whatever, that you will prevail. Say it right now. You will prevail. Whatever your name is, I will prevail. You will prevail. Thank you so much for watching this video. Some of the books that I have in this video that I really enjoy, the books on my desk right here, and the link to my book to buy it on Amazon I'll put in the description below. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up for this video, click the notification bell, and also the subscribe button. You're the best, and peace.